church that brings me closer to my Savior. Little bit of heaven, a whole lot of love left behind.
Good morning and rise and shine, Franklin County, bright and early on this Monday morning. We hope that you had a great week. Great weekend over the weekend. Got out and enjoyed all the great things Franklin County had to offer. And we're going to kick off our week right this morning as we've got Betty Kingery on for our monthly gathering to talk about the health of the real estate market in Virginia and especially here locally in Franklin County in the Roanoke Valley. So Betty, thank you for coming on and talking with us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Well, kicking us off this week, kind of give us an overview of some of the things we're going to be talking about and some of the numbers we're going to be looking at.
Well, is it okay to start with Virginia first and then we'll drill down to Franklin County? What about that?
Sounds good.
Both are good. And so it's interesting. Of course, I represent the board of directors for Virginia Realtors. We are an association that represents about 35,000 realtors throughout the state of Virginia, probably the largest trade organization in the state of Virginia. And so anyway, as we look, we have an economist that serves our state now, and it's interesting, she shares numbers with me. I only got the numbers last night, but at least it was before it was time for us to share them with our viewers. But very interesting. It was a very strong market in 2019. Interesting though, I'll just read a little bit of what she told me as far as mortgage rates. Of course, we look at economic conditions, and Virginia added 45,000 new jobs during 2019. So if we look at over that 12-month period, growth was strong. And it was throughout the state, not definitely in certain pockets, although you can look at Northern Virginia and the eastern part of the state that those are probably more thriving than the rest of the state. But it was also interesting, of course, she's saying economic conditions are great because actually interest rates right now are almost 1% lower than they were a year ago. And that makes a huge difference in somebody's mortgage. So what's your monthly mortgage? So that makes a huge difference, I'd say. And also she talked about in 2020, there were 6,718 total sales across Virginia. This was during January, I should have said, January 2020. And that's 2% over a year ago. But then when it comes down to the number of homes that we had for sale, we had 28,000, or there were an estimated 28,539 active listings, and that's 10,000 less than 2019. So our inventory is extremely low throughout the whole state, and we find that true here in Franklin County. But throughout the state, we've got low inventory, low interest rates, which is a positive. But what happens then, of course, the buyers are very anxious. And so when you see the property that fits your needs or fits your criteria, you hop on it. And then we have multiple offers. And of course, then if you've lost out on a home previously or lost out on your offer, then you're willing to pay more. And so now that's what's driving the prices up. And it was interesting to see as far as when you look across the state of Virginia, Northern Virginia actually had less sales. There are higher prices, but not as many transactions. And of course, low inventory. And so you think about, in Northern Virginia, you think that what happens in Northern Virginia trickles down to us. But there's a little bit different dynamic going on right now. Because think about, what is the company that's headed there to headquarter? Amazon. So I think that folks are holding out just to see exactly what's going to happen there. And maybe they want to put their house on the market, but they're waiting. to see what's really going to happen there. So we've got low inventory, which ends up with low transactions, but low inventory also in Northern Virginia is pushing the prices even higher. And so some folks, especially first-time home buyers, are just about being priced out of the market up there. So you look at what's going on around in Virginia. For Virginia Realtors, we're considered more the West Central area, because that includes Franklin County, it includes Roanoke, Bedford, Craig County, a few other counties. But you know, we were showing so much higher numbers in transactions, and of course pushing our prices up a little bit, whereas in Northern Virginia, they were really down in the number of transactions. So it's interesting what's going on around the state, and we find that true in the country as well.
Sure, and kind of turning that back towards our area, you talked about it's, you know, most time, as you said, that trickle down from what's happening in Northern Virginia makes its way down here to our area, but as you said, there's different factors at work here in our area that's affecting maybe home sales in different times of the year. You know, we talked especially around the Christmas holiday, you know, home sales started to kind of slow down a little bit, but because of different factors.
Well, and as we drill down to Franklin County, we're excited about new industry coming. You know, probably 6 months ago, there were folks, executives that with Valley Star, and they were looking for places to live. And so some of them didn't move forward at the time. I mean, we've got a low inventory of rentals right now as well. So, you know, because some folks would like to live here for at least 6 months or a year and then figure out, well, where do I really want to be? They do their studying ahead of time, but then a lot of times until you really get here, do you know for sure where you want to be? And then some folks don't have children in school, so that's not a factor for them. Some folks want a view. Some want water, some don't, and it's just interesting the different dynamics that you find there. So as in Franklin County, you look at our inventory being extremely low. However, in January, in the Roanoke Valley, and that includes the cities of Salem and Roanoke, it includes the county and then the town of Vinton, but also the counties of Roanoke, Craig, Botetourt, portion of Bedford, and a portion of Franklin County, which really it's most of Franklin County. But when you look at those statistics, during January, it was the highest number of closed properties and the highest number of properties that went under contract. So, of ever. This is the highest in the MLS. You know, of course, we've got the lowest inventory in the MLS history. MLS stands for Multiple Listing Service, if somebody was wondering, well, what is that? But that's our number of listings. So it's interesting. But I want to back up a minute too. For the whole year of 2019 in the Roanoke Valley, we went over, it was record-breaking number as far as the number of, or the volume of homes that sold. And this is what pushes our economy. It went over the billion mark. We've never done that before. So in 2019, I wrote a note for about $1.3 billion of residential sales. So that was incredible, really, if you look at it again. So right now, we have 1,371 properties for sale. We have 1,327 agents. So really, you look at one house per agent, which I know a lot of agents don't work full time. But again, low inventory. You look at in Franklin County, we have only 325 houses for sale.
Wow.
That's very low. And if you look at how many of them are at Smith Mountain Lake, it's 185 of them. So really in the rest of the county, it's not a lot. So I look at at December, January, and February. Of course, in February so far, we haven't closed a lot of homes because that would be pretty much whatever went under contract in December, perhaps. And I feel like, too, you know, around here, usually the fastest moving properties are between 0 and 200,000, or say 250,000. And so I look at the finances of a lot of folks that are in that category. You know, it was Christmas. So families with children probably had bills, and you look at, you know, why? Why are these things happening the way they are? And a lot of times you can come up with a reason for it, whether it's right or wrong. But anyway, I do look at those numbers as far as here close by. And I've noticed that, of course, for February so far, there are 18 properties that are listed between 0 and 100,000. 2 of those properties have already closed this is during February. Now, and this week is going to be a heavy week for closings, because a lot of times you put your closings at the end of the month, because that's, for people that have a mortgage, it's less money out of pocket. Mm-hmm. So we've still got a whole week to go, and maybe we'll report that next March or at the end of March. But as far as where do you find the highest inventory and what price range, it's the 200 to 300,000. There's 65 homes for sale. Now, only 4 of those have closed during February. So I guess our advice for somebody that's in that price range, make sure your home shows well, because you're competing against all of these others. You think about 65 homes, and I want mine to sell. You need to make sure that it's priced right. Of course, we can't do anything about the location. Can't just pick it up and move it. And we have buyers every day that say, wow, I love this house, but I just wish it was over here, you know? So houses can be moved, but usually it's not very economical to just, well, let's pick it up and we'll buy this one too. So right. For this land. But anyway, it's interesting. If there are 65 homes for sale, only 4 of them sold, that means your time on the market or your absorption rate is going to be pretty high. So therefore, price it right, make it look good, have a good curb appeal. And I know things look kind of drabby this time of year, except for this past weekend. What a wonderful weekend, wasn't it? Absolutely beautiful. And folks were out. Folks were at open houses, and people are interested. You see things online, but you want to see it in the real as well. So it was a good weekend. But back to things being drabby, curb appeal is so important, because after you've looked at 6 or 7 houses, you begin to wear out. And if the house doesn't look very good from the outside, it's like, okay, let's just move on. This doesn't appear. Whereas it may look really great inside, but it's just something for that homeowner to really be cognizant of. So anyway, it looks like 300 to 400,000. There's 54 homes for sale. One of those homes sold during the month of February. So again, you're looking at not many sales in that price range for the number of properties that are on the market. And of course, a lot of folks will ask me, well, what about the rest of from 500 to 600, 27 homes for sale, 6 to 700,000, 22, none of those sold, 700 to 800,000, 12 properties for sale. Then you go on over $1 million, and it looks like 26, 33, 36, 37 homes for sale. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably the same number that I reported last month. But one property did sell that was between 1 and 2 million, and another property also sold that was between the 8 and the 900,000.
And one of the things I think that we're seeing from this that I think we don't want folks to lose in the shuffle is we've been talking about for the last several months now, low inventory, especially here in Franklin County. And when you hear low inventory, you think it's a seller's market, prices go up a little bit higher. But also what we're seeing here is the home has to be priced right, curb appeal, all these things. So even though it may be a seller's market inventory-wise, it's still also very competitive at some of these price points.
It definitely is. It is, and the seller's got to be aware of that. And you know, some sellers say, well, I just want to put it out there. It doesn't matter whether it sells or not. And you know, to the agent, it does matter because you spend a lot of money when you're listing a property. Folks don't think about that end of it, perhaps, but with doing pictures, just the time that it takes to get it online, to get it out there in every website possible, you know, on social media, you know, that takes time for somebody. And so it really, you know, of course it's the preference of the seller is be prepared and also price it right if you do want to sell it. And it will. And it is a seller's market right now, definitely, with that low inventory. And usually you think of number of months on the market, it really should sell in 3 months, within 3 months. If it's not, then you need to look back again and see what's going on. Do I need to reduce the price? Could I paint? Does it need a new roof? There are certain things that you can do to a home that you'll get that value back. We always call it cost versus value. So there's definitely things that you can do to a home. Sometimes our walls are painted certain ways because of our preference. But that might not be the preference of a buyer, and maybe the color is just really throwing that person off. And by painting a neutral color, that may make the difference. You know, and around here, you know, folks that have, you have the deadheads or whatever, sometimes folks come into a home and they're bothered by that. And so there are things like that we do suggest for the owner is to neutralize the house. You know, this is your home. It was your passion. You have memories in it, but now you tell me you want to sell it. So let's let go. Take those things down that make it your home. You know, put them away. If you're going to move anyway, whether you rent a pod or whatever you do to store these things, start moving, you know, start storing or what am I packing up? So what is it? You purge and you donate and then put your personal items away. As far as your pictures, go ahead and get those off the wall, or your personal pictures. If it's a picture like this that's going to make your house look good, because the house does better when it's staged, actually. People can more or less visualize how they're going to put their furniture in there. Sure. So I keep talking and talking.
No,
sorry. I don't give you a minute to ask a question,
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, and we've kind of covered a lot of the numbers as we do each and every month. But another side to your part of being with the Virginia Realtors is the lobbying side of things. Yeah. Is there anything here in the first couple of months that I know you guys have made a couple of different trips that they're looking at here locally?
We definitely advocate for homeowners. We advocate, of course, for private property rights. And of course, too, we represent the homeowner as well as all of our real estate agents as we go to lobby. And not anything really pressing for this year. There were a lot of bills that went through, and a lot of them were backed by Virginia Realtors, and we were extremely excited about that those particular bills did pass. So whether it's with property management, you know, a lot of things happen in legislation with property management, and that seems to be very huge. Of course, in Roanoke, flood insurance, so that makes a huge difference. We're all behind that because that makes a big difference in somebody's payment, their monthly payment, if their flood insurance is high. And that kind of, it seems to shift around a bit. And of course, even at Smith Mountain Lake, we've had a few issues with that, as far as all of a sudden a particular property they're saying it's in a floodplain. And so it's just things that we have to work with there.
Absolutely. Well, anything else you'd like to talk about this morning? We've covered a lot of different things, and we like to get together at least once a month and kind of just give you the health of the real estate market, not only statewide, but here locally, and different things that come about, just so if you're ready to buy or to sell, if you're thinking about it. We always urge you at the end of all of our gatherings to find the realtor that's right for you.
Exactly. But it is, housing drives the economy. I think that it always has, it always will. So whether it's a home that's being sold or it's the homeowner that decides, oh, so the market is slim right now. If I sell my house, am I going to be able to find something? Maybe I should downsize some other way. Okay, children, move in with me. We're going to become a multi-generational house. Or either if you're trying to up, you end up renovating. You add on to your home, if the lot will allow it. So anyway, it's different options there, but housing has definitely always been a driver in the economy. And so for 2019, it was very strong, very strong. Now some people will ask us, wow, are you about to get in the bubble that we had in 06, 07, 08? And we don't feel that we will. Lending still has a handle on exactly what's going on with that particular borrower. So I don't see that, and also we don't have the inventory. You know, we had huge inventory back 12, 14 years ago, and houses were just flying around. They were being sold several times within, well, lots at the lake were sold 3 times in one day, but as far as houses, sometimes they were sold within 6 months. And so it was kind of an interesting market then, but I think that most of the forecasters predict that we should not have a bubble. And I think too, our appraisers are staying pretty much in line, being very strict as far as some of these multiple offers, and it's pushing the prices up. I think that the appraisers are really helping to keep things in line with where they need to be. And that's a good thing. You know, I hate it for our seller because I want that seller to get as much money as they could for that house, but I look at the buyer as well. We don't need to get things out of kilter. And so kudos to our appraisers, and I know that even in our office, our agents are going to say, I can't believe you said that, but I mean, it really is. You've got to look at the big picture of what is going on. I mean, I like the multiple offers. I want the person that really, really wants the house to get it, but let's don't overpay. You know, if I needed to sell that house in 2 years or 3 years from now, am I going to get that money back? And as a real estate agent or a realtor, if that person can't get that money back, how is that going to look to us? So again, we've got to keep things in line with the money, the income that our buyers are bringing in. So can't get it out of line.
There you go. Well, again, we thank you for coming out bright and early on this Monday morning and having this conversation with us and bringing all this wonderful information to us.
Always good.
Absolutely. And as we remind you each and every time at the end of our gathering, every Tuesday night right here on your neighborhood network, Cable 12, RE/MAX Mountain to Lake Realty Showcase. You'll hear lots more of this great information. I don't want to preface it. I can't remember if it's this week's show or maybe the show that you've already saw. You guys talked a lot about mortgage rates and kind of how they look throughout the year. But just another good way to stay in tune with the real estate market, and maybe you can find your dream home or piece of property there on the show. But that's every Tuesday night right here on Cable 12. But with that being said, we're going to give you a chance to fill up that coffee mug, listen to our wonderful sponsors, and we'll be back with more Rise and Shine right here on your neighborhood network, Cable 12.